There are some places in this world from which there is simply no way out. Some locations that once you enter them, they will swallow you whole and never let you escape. It's almost like they have a hive mind and will do anything to keep you from leaving. It doesn't matter if you try to run or hide or beg for mercy. Once these places get a hold of you, they will never let you go. So let me tell you about my encounter with one such place. My name is not important, and I am a filmmaker living in a big city. And like everyone else in this concrete jungle, I was busy trying to make it on my own. But unlike most people, I had a talent for capturing moments in time and sharing them with the world. I could take a simple, ordinary thing and turn it into something extraordinary, something that would make people feel something. And this gift of mine had taken me far. I had worked with some of the biggest brands in the country and had a reputation for being able to capture the essence of a product or service and translate it into a visual masterpiece. But recently, I had been feeling uninspired. I had lost that spark that had made me so successful, and I knew that if I didn't do something drastic, I would lose everything. That's when I decided to take a break from the city, from the noise and the chaos, and go somewhere quiet where I could be alone with my thoughts. And that's when I stumbled upon it, an old administrative building that looked like it had been abandoned for decades. I could not believe my luck. This was exactly what I needed, a place where I could be alone and work on my craft without distractions. So I packed my things and headed there. The drive was long and tedious, but as soon as I saw the building, all my weariness vanished. It was like a beacon of hope in the darkness, a sign that I was on the right track. As I stepped out of my car and approached the building, I could feel the weight of its history pressing down on me. It was as if the walls themselves were holding their breath, waiting for me to do something. I took a deep breath and pushed open the door. It was then that I saw it, the room that would change everything. It was long and narrow with dim yellow lighting that cast long shadows on the walls. The air was thick with the smell of old books and papers, and the only sound was the soft hum of the refrigerator in the corner. There were rows and rows of filing cabinets lining the walls, each one a portal to another world. As I walked down the hallway, I felt a sense of unease wash over me. It was as if the walls were closing in on me, trying to keep me from going any further. But I pressed on, driven by a force I couldn't understand. I don't know how long I walked for, but eventually the hallway opened up into a large room. And in the middle of it all was a round table, surrounded by chairs. I walked towards it, and as I did, the hairs on my neck stood on end. It was as if the room itself was watching me, judging me, waiting for me to make a move. I sat down at the table, and suddenly everything changed. The room seemed to come alive with energy. The shadows on the wall danced, and the hum of the refrigerator became a roar. I could feel the presence of others around me, unseen entities that were watching me, waiting for me to do something. I tried to get up and run, but my legs were heavy like they were filled with lead. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't move. Then I heard a voice, a low, guttural voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It said, "You are not welcome here." I tried to scream, but my voice wouldn't come out. I was trapped in a nightmare, and there was no way out. Then I started to see them, shadowy figures lurking in the corners of my vision. They were tall and thin and seemed to be made of smoke and mirrors. They glided towards me, their eyes fixed on me with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. I wanted to run, to hide, but I was frozen in fear. They surrounded me, their presence suffocating me, their eyes boring into me. I could feel their cold hands on me, their icy touch sending a jolt of terror through my body. Then they started to whisper, their voices like nails on a chalkboard, scratching at my sanity. They were speaking in a language I didn't understand, but the meaning was clear. I was not welcome here. I struggled against their grip, But their hold on me was relentless. They dragged me towards the filing cabinets, their whispers growing louder, their eyes burning into me. I could feel myself slipping away, my consciousness fading into the darkness. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it stopped. The whispers faded, the shadowy figures disappeared, and I was left alone in the eerie silence. I was shaking, my heart pounding in my chest, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I tried to catch my breath, to calm myself down, but it was no use. I was terrified. I slowly got up and stumbled out of the room, my eyes darting around, my senses on high alert. I didn't want to look back, but I couldn't help myself. As I turned to leave, I caught one last glimpse of the room. The table was empty, the chairs were upturned, the room was empty. But as I closed the door behind me, I could have sworn I heard a voice that was cold and menacing, that said, "You can't escape us. We will find you." And as I ran for my life, I knew that those words were true. I had seen what lurked in those shadowy corners, and I knew that I would never be free of it. I raced to my car, my mind screaming at me to get away, to never look back. I fumbled with my keys, my hands shaking, my heart pounding in my chest. Finally, the car started and I slammed my foot on the accelerator, speeding away from that cursed building. As I drove, I could feel their presence in the car with me, their eyes boring into me, their whispers echoing in my ears. I dared not look in the rear-view mirror, but I could feel their gaze on me, their burning desire to drag me back to that room, back to them. I don't know how long I drove for, but eventually I stopped. I had to stop. I couldn't keep running, couldn't keep looking over my shoulder. I was exhausted, drained, both physically and emotionally. As I sat there, my body trembling, I realized that I had to do something, that I couldn't just sit in my car forever. I had to get out, had to move on. But the thought of moving on, of leaving the safety of my car and facing whatever was out there alone, was terrifying. It was then that I made a decision. I would never go back to that building. I would never set foot in that room again. I vowed to myself that I would spend the rest of my life running, hiding, doing anything to avoid going back. And as I made that vow, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. It was a small comfort, but it was all I had. Now years have passed since that fateful day. I have moved from the city, changed my phone number, even changed my identity. But I can never escape the past. I can never escape the horrors of that room. Sometimes when I'm alone in the dead of night, I hear their whispers in my ear. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I see their shadowy forms dancing in my dreams. I am haunted by their presence, tormented by their whispers. I am trapped in a living hell, and there is no way out. Now, I want to warn you, stay away from that building. Stay away from that room. If you hear the voice, if you feel their presence, run. Don't look back. Never go back. It is a fate worse than death. It is a prison from which there is no escape.